Bodybuilding is underrated. What do strength athletes, people who specialize in other physical sports like climbing or basketball, and normal folks who just want to improve their overall health have in common? You guessed it, they can all learn from bodybuilders. Today I'll share with you my search for identity in physical fitness and how in the last year I've seen the best progress of my career by adopting a few tricks from the bodybuilding toolset. And spoiler alert, it's not the spray tans. So let's get into it. Welcome to my channel, my name is John. I'm sharing my long journey from an unfit adult to a better version of myself and all of the lessons and struggles I've had along the way. Your first reaction might be, bruh, you're not even big. And you're not wrong. But as you'll see, I've learned a lot from bodybuilding methods lately that I want to share with y'all. I got into physical fitness first through indoor rock climbing and then through yoga and finally into resistance training. I noticed that in those cultures, bodybuilding had a bit of a bad reputation. And to be fair, the image of professional bodybuilders with their succulent orange marinated beef bodies looks a bit strange from the outside. But we can't let our perception of an entire activity, culture, and school of knowledge be skewed by a few extreme examples. People often associate bodybuilding with professional bodybuilders, and this is a mistake. I'm working out to improve my health, so I don't want to take steroids. I don't want to starve myself and perform on stage. I don't want to spray tan. But this, of course, is a logical fallacy. It's like saying that all runners have to run races. I've started trail running and road running, and I hate racing. You can be a climber without having to live in a van. You can build your body without gulping down protein shakes. You can get bigger and still be able to scratch your own back. We can do any of these activities in our own unique way. We don't need to feel constrained by ideologies and dogma from other practitioners. We can feel free to find our own path forward, even if it doesn't fit nicely into an existing category. In reality, all of these perspectives have unique value to share and lessons for us to learn. Take me for an example. What kind of athlete even am I? What is my physical practice? I don't really identify as a bodybuilder. I have no plans to get on stage. I'm never going to cut to a very low body weight, and I'm not interested in developing a specific aesthetic with my physique. But of course, I do enjoy the feeling of growing and the way my body looks. But I'm not training my calves or any other muscles that I don't have a more sport-specific goal with. So what kind of athlete am I? I'm not really a strength athlete. I don't do strongman or specialize in powerlifting, but I am trying to develop a sort of general strength, in particular upper body strength and skills. I started out training calisthenics, but I hit a massive plateau, which I think was largely due to not having put on enough muscle to do advanced skills at my above average height of 6'1". I'm also a rock climber. In fact, in terms of time spent, I spend like 6 to 10 hours a week climbing socially with friends, compared to only about 2 hours a week resistance training. And I've just started to get into running long distances, which is something that I never thought I would enjoy, but I'm finding has massive benefits for my overall health and recovery. Am I a hybrid athlete? I don't really know what you would call this. If you share any of these similar interests, let us know in the comments. How do you self-identify? It's lonely out here and I'm trying to find my tribe. A common thread to all of these various disciplines, which I dabble in, is bodybuilding. I'm interested in building more capacity in my body for general strength application, but also for very specialized sport-specific applications. I want to be strong for life, able to pick things up off the floor and hoist them above my head. I want massive forearm muscles and tough finger tendons, as well as robust shoulders to meet the demands of climbing. And I want legs that don't get injured when running long distances, but I don't want so much leg muscle that it negatively affects my climbing. And what is the discipline that knows the most about developing all of these attributes? It's bodybuilding. I'm going to share with you 3 lessons that I learned from the bodybuilding community that have helped me in my training. Lesson number 1, muscle is hardware and strength is software. Muscle is the raw material, and strength is the operating system sitting on top. So both are integral parts if we want to improve overall function. Allow me to read you a passage from the Bible. Strength is predicated on a simple equation. Strength equals neural adaptations times muscle cross-sectional area. Developing strength with a focus on these neural factors in conjunction with muscle mass gains will provide faster results. It's possible to essentially maximize the neural adaptations to strength for a given quantity of muscle. Once you reach a certain level of muscle fiber recruitment, you need more mass and horsepower in those fibers to produce more force. This should be obvious, but this is why there are weight classes in all strength sports. In my own case, I spent several years training without ever really stimulating much muscle growth. I did grow some from strength programming, and I did gain large increases in strength at first. But in almost every lift and movement pattern, my progress stalled, and I started to acquire overuse injuries in several joints, mostly the elbows and shoulders. I think I had maxed out my neural adaptations. I continued to try to progress to heavier weights, but I simply didn't have enough muscle mass to support it. I had reached my strength ceiling for that weight. The only way out was to start bodybuilding. Lesson number 2, moderate to high rep ranges are way underrated. One salient difference between the domains of strength versus hypertrophy training is the rep range. I'm generalizing here, but you tend to see a focus on 1 to 5 reps in strength programs and more varied approaches with bodybuilding, with a lot of 8 to 12 and 15 to 20 rep ranges. Being strength focused for years, I don't think I ever did more than 6 repetitions. When I started hitting plateaus, my technique would drop to meet the level of the higher weight rather than actually getting stronger. I developed bicep tendinitis from overhead pressing and elbow tendinitis from low rep weighted pull-ups. Now I incorporate lots of 8 to 12 rep work. Still pretty heavy, but it allows many more repetitions with solid technique and closer to failure. In 3 rep sets, only the last rep is close to failure, and the technique is usually dog shit. 15 to 20 rep work also seems to stimulate growth effectively, although it's much harder to reach failure in this rep range. But this is actually a great mental skill that I think has really increased my toughness and increased the intensity that I'm able to push it to. The carryover to absolute strength is clear. Even though I'm not doing any low rep sets, I just hit 11 rep max on my weighted chin-ups of plus 27 kilos. And 8 months ago I was doing 25 kilos for a max of 5 reps when the elbow pain started to emerge. Higher rep ranges seem to allow strength development with less overall joint stress. This is probably due to slightly lower loads, with less incentive to cheat on form. Lesson number 3. Isolations and other highly specialized exercises are indispensable for overcoming specific weaknesses in any sport. If there's one thing that bodybuilders do well, it's attack their isolation exercises with intensity. And if you have specific goals in any sport, you need to do exactly this. The intensity for so-called accessories is what's so important here. I'm hitting curls as hard as I'm hitting deadlifts. I'm hitting finger isolation and forearm isolation. For climbing, the most important stat is finger strength. You can never have too much finger strength. The main driver of progress for me in the last year has been arm lifting. This is basically using grip implements to deadlift weight off the ground. Hitting these lifts in hypertrophy rep ranges from like 8 to 15 has been instrumental in improving my climbing performance over the last year. I'm doing fat grip farmer walks to beef up my forearms as well. I'm hitting tibialis raises like my life depends upon it, and it's helping me get over shin splints from a ramp up in running volume. I'm doing lateral raises to complement my overhead presses and seeing great progress in both movements simultaneously. The key with these is treating every training goal, no matter how small it is, as very important. Go into each set with absolute intention because each part of the whole is important. I also have one lesson from strength that I'm taking with me to bodybuilding. You measure your bodybuilding progress by how strong you're getting. Your weight won't change much on even a weekly basis, so it can be misleading. Even measuring your body parts is only meaningful over long time scales. And if you're not a serious bodybuilder, like I'm not, you probably don't care too much about your measurements anyways. But we gotta track our progress, and so the way to do that is through tracking strength increases in your training log. As long as you're adding weight or reps over time, while training close to as failure as possible, you'll be getting bigger. But the strength gains will show up before you notice the size. So this means you'll be tracking more like 10 rep maxes, 15 rep maxes, and 20 rep maxes. But you know what? These numbers are way more meaningful than 1 rep maxes. If you had to take a pre-workout and peak for 3 months in order to produce a 1 rep max performance, it doesn't say much about how strong you really are. When someone asks, how much do you bench? And you say some number that you did once, a year ago, and you couldn't reproduce at any time in the next month, you're not really being honest, are you? Tell me what you can do for 10 controlled reps with no warm-up, and I'll tell you how strong you really are. So thank you, bodybuilders, for helping to teach me some techniques that have helped improve my training and fill in gaps in knowledge that I didn't even know I had. I appreciate you and the knowledge that you're adding to the community here. Thank you all for watching. If you watched all of this, subscribe for more content on all things fitness. And if you like my ramblings, I've got a Twitter and a newsletter where I cover broader topics like how fitness and active pursuits can integrate into living a healthier, more fulfilled life. If you're stuck in your own fitness or health journeys, I'm doing free consults right now to help you get unstuck. DM me on Twitter with whatever your struggle is, and I'll get you back in motion. Thanks and stay strong out there.